Would you be the jerk for not inviting somebody to dinner because they made a big deal out of not wanting to eat at the homes of people who have cats? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for not inviting my picky eater daughter-in-law to my dinner event? I will be as clear as possible. I like to try new food, and there's a chef I've been following for years. She opened a restaurant near me a few years ago, and it is almost impossible to get a spot. I was extremely lucky and got one. It is a fixed menu, and you eat what you're served for the most part. The menu changes or rotates about every week. They serve unique dishes. Anyways, when I booked it, I booked for only 5 people. I invited my sisters, my 2 daughters, and me. I also decided to pay for it all since I have a good job and wanted to treat them. This is where the issue started. I have a daughter-in-law who is a picky eater. I didn't include her in the invites because I know she wouldn't eat it. I can't even be certain she would try dishes. She is the type of person that eats like 5 foods. Everyone runs in the same-ish circle, and I got a call asking why she was not invited since she knows everyone that was invited. I try to be polite by saying it was just a small gathering and move the conversation along. She kept pushing, and I told her it's because she's a picky eater, that I'm not paying for someone to not like the food or not even try it. She thinks I'm very cruel for excluding her. Well, first of all, I do think it's for the very best if OP's just straight up and honest here. That said, I think just about anybody knows that one person who, when they order a burger, they go and they pull the lettuce off, they pull the tomato off, they pull the pickles off. If you're going to a fine dining establishment that serves you food that you don't get a say in, I think, to be honest, the last thing you want to do is go there with somebody who, like OP said, might not even try the food, or, even worse, might be sitting there picking things out of their food, just kind of ruining the whole experience. It's not even really like a personal thing, it's just not the right kind of event or venue for that person to go to. It's like somebody who absolutely hates loud music is totally upset with you because you and a bunch of other people are going to the club and didn't invite them. How to McDo for Dinner wrote, "How has it become acceptable to call people and ask to be invited to an event that you have not been invited to, and then when you still don't get invited, it's the host who is cruel, selfish, mean, etc. Not the jerk at all. Keep excluding her when it comes to food events. Why she would even want to come is beyond me. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below?" That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my wife to please get the heck out of my way? I was raised to always be helpful and polite. I like to hold the door open for people. As an example, I always try to treat my wife with respect. She is a good person, but even if she weren't, I would. She's been trying to be like me lately, and it's driving me nuts. She cannot understand the time cop rule that 2 bits of matter cannot occupy the same space. She will hold the door for me and then stand in the way. When I hold the door for her, I stand to the side so she can pass. She cannot seem to get this concept. I've had to start traveling for work and she drives me to the airport. I could Uber, but she says she likes the drive. We always stop for breakfast on the way, so it's a way for us to sneak in one more date before I'm gone for a while. So I'll have my backpack on and my rolling luggage in my hand. She'll open the door, go through, and hold the storm door, but she will fully stand in the way. I have explained the concept of standing to the side. I've asked her to please just go through and I'll deal. I've tried leaving before her so I can deal. I've even tried just standing inches away as she holds the door and I cannot move forward. Nothing works. I was in a hurry yesterday because my flight was changed. We could still stop for breakfast, but we didn't have much leeway, and she would not get out of the way. I lost my cool and asked her to please get the heck out of the way because I needed to get to the car. She's mad and has brought up my rudeness at both our calls since she dropped me off. I think that I've been very patient, and she should have taken the hint before now. Considering this is something OP's explicitly talked to her about and pointed out time and time again, I assume. I can't say that OP's the jerk here for getting upset after it happens again. Like, at that point, you would feel like it almost has to be intentional. I mean, what do you gotta do to teach them how to properly hold the door open and, the concept of leaving the lane open for the person to actually go through? Kuroko Menu wrote, "Not the jerk with hindsight. Leaving the word heck out would have been best, not just because it's rude, but because it gives her something to latch onto, which deflects from the fact that you're right to be frustrated with her behavior. Flipping things so you're in the wrong for that one word. But given that she's ignored your attempts to solve this problem multiple times, I can understand your frustration. Have you tried directly asking her to literally explain how you can get through the door with her standing right in the way? Perhaps if you ask her to stay just where she is and explain to you what you have to do to get through the door, you might finally get through to her. Or not. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not retaking the family photo since my daughter-in-law was not in it? Every couple of years, we get everyone together and do a giant family photo. In total, it's about 40 people. Our last one was in 2018, and we decided to do this again. I organized the whole thing, and everyone was told that small pictures will be done at 4, and the big picture was at 5. Afterwards, we get dinner. The issue is that my son and daughter-in-law were running late. Wasn't a big deal since it was just small pictures. They get here in time for the large picture. I asked everyone to be there on time. I called twice, asking if anyone is missing. Everyone is lined up and the photographer takes like 15 minutes of the big picture. Everyone is hungry and hurrying to get food. My daughter-in-law soon comes out asking about the picture. It's around 5:30 at this point. She told me she was in the bathroom fixing her hair when the picture was being taken. She asked me to round everyone up again to get a picture. I told her no, that she was late coming to the event and couldn't care enough to actually be on time for the picture. I'm not gathering everyone up again and paying the photographer an extra hour. He was done and packing up at this point. This caused a huge argument between her and me. My son is demanding I get her in the picture, and I told him to pay someone to Photoshop her in. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk. They did their best, they called around, they did whatever they possibly could. This isn't some airhead Kevin McAllister type moment. She was in the bathroom powdering her nose or whatever for an extra half hour past the agreed time. Sad Seaweed 59 wrote, not the jerk. It's not your job to make sure inconsiderate family members get in the photo. Sounds like you did your due diligence and daughter-in-law was being an inconsiderate jerk. There's no way you run an hour and a half late to a photo you want to be in. You're not responsible for her carelessness. If your son does agree to pay for the Photoshop, it would be nice if you were the bigger person and used the Photoshop version instead of the one without her, although I personally would be petty about that. Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to support my sister during her divorce? My sister's marriage of 3 years is ending. She was with her husband for almost 5 years before the relationship and marriage came to an end. I saw this coming before they got married. Deep down, I never saw this marriage lasting, or not lasting happily anyway. I brought up my concerns to my sister and she told me I was wrong because she could fix all those problems. Let me explain what happened. My sister married a widower. They met 9 months after his wife died. His 3 kids were under 11 when they got married. The kids did not adjust to their dad dating my sister. They didn't like my sister. They didn't want their dad with someone else. They didn't want everyone to move on and leave their mom in the past. He really didn't get them any support during that time, and he did nothing about any worrying or bad behavior. My sister believed she would win them over, and they would love her and think of her as a parent in no time. But she also had a very hard time hearing about her husband's late wife or the kids' mom. She didn't like her family being around the kids because she felt like they talked more about their mom after seeing their maternal relatives. She didn't like that they held traditions with their close mom and refused to let her into any of them. I think my sister was just engaged at the time, but her husband mentioned wanting this dish his late wife used to cook, and he mentioned her cookbook. The kids heard and hid the cookbook, so my sister could never see it, and she tried to coax them into handing it over. They said never. They said she couldn't do the stuff their mom did because she would never be good enough for that. My sister believed she could fix that with time. The only thing that really happened is my sister grew to resent the kid's mom over time. She didn't like being compared to her in a negative way, and having it made clear she was never going to be the first choice. I totally understand things like that being said to you will hurt, but she married a man who wasn't helping his kids through the loss, and she ended up taking it out on the kids. The marriage ended 2 months ago after my sister ranted at the kids about how much she hated their mom and was glad she died, and giving her husband the choice of them versus me. He chose them, but without being asked to choose, I fully believe he would have stayed. So now my sister is living with my parents again, and the family have rallied around her, but I have not. I do not think my sister acted right here, and while I feel bad for her about some of it, I did air concerns, and she was so arrogant she thought she'd be able to fix everything. My sister and my parents keep bringing up the fact that I'm not there for her and how I should be. My sister asked me if I really thought she was so wrong in this that I would withhold my support, and I said yes. She and my parents said I should be supporting my sister no matter what. Am I the jerk? Personally, I feel like OP's pretty clearly not the jerk here. First of all, this whole situation in general is not really OP's responsibility to get involved in. If they don't really want to immerse themselves in the nitty-gritty details of the situation and rally or not around somebody, I think that's totally fair. Let alone the fact that what she did was pretty disgusting. Emergency Cat 17 wrote, I agree with this 1,000,000%. Ordinarily, I would say, it's very hard, she's going through a tough time, etc., and for you to soften up on her a little, but she told a group of small children that she hated their mom and was glad she died. Hard nope there. That's where I think OP needed to draw the line too. It's hard dating someone who was widowed. I was with a widower for 4 years. No kids though. And it's tough, you know? Sure, it's someone you don't have to worry about them getting back together with, or the discomfort of running into them at a family party. I mean, done, finished. They won't ever be competition with you. In real life, that is. But emotionally, it's a really hard path to follow because, and I can only speak for myself, there was always that little voice in the back of my head saying, yes, she's gone, but he still loves her more than you deep down because, quite simply, they would still be together if she hadn't died. And it can freak up your mind sometimes. It was 4 years of him putting her on a pedestal, and you literally feel like you're competing with a ghost. We're not together anymore because of a ton of other issues that actually had nothing to do with his late wife. And for those 4 years, I really did my best to just keep my mouth shut about a woman who wasn't ever going to take him away from me. But despite how much insecurity there can be in that kind of a relationship, the one thing I never did was tell him I hated her and was glad she was dead. Our next story is, am I the jerk for walking away from my pregnant wife on the beach? So we parked the car at the beach, which is about 100 meters away from the sea, and started walking up. My wife is almost 7 months pregnant and is quite a slow walker. I pulled ahead about 15 to 20 meters to get a lay of the land and to see how busy it was, etc. My wife claims when I pulled ahead, I didn't turn back to check she hadn't fallen over once. I was not that far ahead, and I easily could have heard her if anything had happened. I think she's being unreasonable because it doesn't seem like a big deal. We have a very good relationship, we rarely fight, but this seems to really have gotten under her skin. Am I the jerk? Edit, we're on holiday in a foreign country and it's significantly hotter than a temperature we're used to. I'm also 6'4" and she's 5'1". I don't really think it's about the whole, well, what if I fall over or whatnot. I think it's really about you just going on ahead. I mean, if I'm out bike riding or walking with somebody, I want to walk with them and share that moment with them. Not kind of a moment where I'm just worrying about myself, walking by myself, while the person I know is going on way down ahead. I sympathize with her. It sucks being way behind and left by yourself. If I were her, I would begin feeling like, what's the point of me even being out here? We're not doing anything together in this moment. Devi78 wrote, as the shorter/slower in most relationships, it is annoying having to semi-jog to catch up constantly. I do understand that it probably is as annoying having to slow down. I get losing patience and wanting to go ahead, but she can't jog as easily anymore, and this is your pregnant wife and kid. You should want to walk beside her. And after the edit, yes, you're the jerk. She isn't as comfortable as she normally is, and now it's significantly hotter than a temperature we're used to. I'd want my guy with me, not 20 meters ahead, that's almost a block. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling the police on my girlfriend's daughter? So I'm 42, girlfriend is 50, and she has a 25-year-old daughter that has a key to our house. Her daughter likes to take things from our house without permission, stealing as everyone else calls it. Mainly it's been tools from my toolbox, new Tupperware we had just bought. She said hers was old and stained, so she threw hers out and took ours without asking or telling us. Recently, we bought a nice computer desk and noticed a beat-up flimsy one in its place about 2 months later. Her daughter said she replaced it with her old one because ours was better than hers. Girlfriend refuses to put her in her place because when she does, the daughter threatens to not let my girlfriend see her grandson. Clearly, the daughter is escalating in what she steals, and my concern is how long before my Metallica autographs walk out the door with my guns and guitars. In my frustration, I put a camera in secret and caught her taking items from the garage and house. I went to the police and showed them the footage. We went to her apartment. I confronted her and gave her 2 choices: return the items or I press charges. She returned them and is now telling her mom to leave me. Am I the jerk? OP's a million% not the jerk, but if this is a situation where the girlfriend cannot argue here, they don't want to put their foot down because they're afraid losing that relationship with their grandson, this might not be a lasting relationship, just saying. ApartAd6518 wrote, totally 100% not the jerk. Girlfriend refuses to put her in her place because when she does, the daughter threatens to not let my girlfriend see her. Weaponizing a kid shows what a jerk the daughter really is. There's no easy answer to this. Daughter's always going to be a thorn in your side, and girlfriend is unlikely to rein her in because of that threat. Might be best to find someone who isn't going to let her relatives steal from you. Our next story is, am I the jerk for giving my sister a wedding cake made by one of my assistants instead of making her one myself? My grandmother made wedding cakes for everyone I knew growing up. I learned how to do everything from her. I would make roses out of Play-Doh while she made them from fondant. My sister was never interested. I have turned my memories of my grandmother into a business. I make wedding cakes, and I charge a fair bit for them. As an example, my base price is $8 a slice. So if you have 100 guests, you'll be buying an $800 cake, one of my base models. In return, you'll get a delicious cake with pipe decorations. At $17.50 a slice, you get my top-notch work. Hand-molded flowers and the whole deal. Yes, I know it's expensive. Nobody is forced to buy one of my cakes. There are many very good bakers in my city. My sister's getting married. It is kind of a last-minute thing. She came with my mom to talk to me about making her wedding cake like 2 weeks ago, very last minute. I said there was no way as I had other clients that were ahead of her. My mom got mean and said that I had to do this. After a while, I relented. I love my sister even though she is an impulsive pain in the butt. I said I could do it for about $1,000 for what she wanted. That is much less than I would charge anyone else. There is no profit in that at all. She wanted a very elaborate cake with a lot of decoration. Oh heck no, it's going to be a gift. I do not give gifts that expensive. I am not rich. I'll have to eat the material costs and the wages for my helpers as is. I did not want to argue anymore, so I said that I would make her a basic cake. Still very nice. I did not budge. I do not negotiate about losing money. I actually thought about outsourcing to a really great Filipino baker I know that could do it cheap. It would cost me $300 and I could concentrate on my clients. I ended up just letting one of my apprentices do the cake. It was for my sister, so I double-checked everything, and I did the decorations on the top tier, the one the couple saves to have on their anniversary. The cake was a hit, and many pictures were taken. I told them not to mention that I did the cake. It was not really up to par. They did not listen. I had a client that knew my sister. She asked, and I was honest. My sister found out she got a cake made by my helper. It has caused a huge fight. I think it would have been better if they had just gone elsewhere. They are ticked that I did not spend days sculpting the cake just for them. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk here. I mean, it's pretty clear from the get-go that they came to OP hoping to get some kind of crazy sick deal, even going so far as suggesting for free? If OP's being 100% truthful that $1,000 for that wedding cake is actually cutting even, they're not the jerk when they're talking even about just the time itself, allowing them to make more than just that $1,000. That's a lot of money. Falling into Polka Dots wrote, not the jerk. This is how you make your living and you have employees and clients booked well enough in advance and willing to pay your asking price. And your sister decides to get married suddenly and quickly and you're supposed to drop everything, so scrimp on the quality of the paying clients, and whip up an elaborate cake for her for free? Nope. Even K648 added, the only people I work for free are myself and my wife. I'll do anything she wants. The rest of my family always told me how disappointed they were in me that I didn't go to college and went into the trades. They can't seem to understand that this is how I earn money. Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for following through with my late wife's wishes? I, 49-year-old male, was married to my wife for 20 years. I lost her in a car accident 8 years ago. We had 2 beautiful daughters together, Maeve, 18 now, 10 when her mother passed, and Alex, 16 now, 8 when her mother passed. I am very close with my daughters, but they were both definitely mama's girls. My wife was a magnetic woman. She was beautiful, intelligent, kind, and people were drawn to her. An important thing to know about my wife is that she had a passion for writing. She was unfortunately in a profession where she didn't write much, so she did a lot on her own time. One of her favorite things to write was letters. She wanted people to know that she cared about them. After she had each of my daughters, she wrote them a letter. She wrote each within days after their births and wanted to give them away on their graduation days. She put them in the firebox in our basement to avoid losing or forgetting about them. She wrote the letters with the intention of giving them to our daughters herself 18 years later as a sort of time capsule type thing. Both letters contained mostly words of wisdom and information about what was going on when they were born. Maeve graduated from high school today, and I went to her room with the letter tonight. I let her cry on my shoulder as she read it, and at first she seemed happy to have heard something directly from her mother. However, after she read it, she turned to me looking surprisingly angry. She asked why I'd waited so long to give it to her. She had so many rough moments and heartbreak in the last 8 years where all she wanted was her mother's wisdom, and I withheld the letter. I told her that I was just doing what her mother had said she wanted, and Maeve shot back that her mother also hadn't planned on being in the accident. Alex heard the shouting and came into the room, and Maeve told her about the letter. Now they're both upset and don't want to talk to me. I feel so awful about this whole situation. I was raised by my single mother after my own dad took off, so on one hand, I've always wanted to be the best father I can, and I feel terrible that I withheld something that would have brought them comfort. On the other hand, my wife had very specific instructions about her intentions with the letters, and I just wanted to follow through with that. So now I'm very conflicted, and I just want to know, am I the jerk? OP's pretty clearly not the jerk here, and I think they're just very high in emotion. I would just hope that OP can make it clear to their daughters that it wasn't a purposeful withholding. They were just trying to do what their mom intended. You know, that OP never meant to hurt them or feel like they were hiding something from them. OP was only trying to do right by their mom, according to the mom's wishes. Divinanity wrote, "Not the jerk, not the jerk. Your wife wrote those letters with a specific intent and likely in a very specific voice appropriate for the young woman your elder daughter is now, not the young children they both were 8 years ago. There's nothing wrong with honoring her wishes in this matter. It's understandable that your daughters are upset because this dredged up a lot of heavy emotions unexpectedly. But there's absolutely no reason to assume that they would have understood or appreciated these letters when they were younger. Instead of comfort, any number of other emotions could have arisen, as is evident now. There's simply no way you could have known how they would react. You sound like a kind, thoughtful person trying to do his best through terrible circumstances. So cut yourself some slack. Give them a bit of time and space for now. Hopefully they'll come around once they've had time to sit with all this for a bit longer. This next story is, am I the jerk for not inviting someone for dinner because she made a big deal out of how she doesn't eat at the homes of people who have cats? A while back, I posted a picture to my Instagram stories of my cat sitting next to my counter as I was cooking on his own stool. He was watching. Again, he was next to my counter, not anywhere near the food. He doesn't go on counters. He doesn't go near the food. My friend, Rose, reposted it with her own caption, a puke face emoji, and "You can't eat at everybody's house." I ignored it and went about my business. She is very much the type of person who just regurgitates whatever popular phrases she sees on social media. Pineapple on pizza equals monsters. Raisin in cookies are why I have trust issues. I don't trust people who don't like dogs. Hot girl walks, hot girl books, Delulu. I'm going to hold your hand while I tell you this. Is the ex in the room with us right now, etc., etc.? She has other traits that make up for it, but truthfully, I do tend to avoid one-on-one time with her. About a month ago, I hosted a small get-together to show off some Le Creuset cookware I obtained. Getting older is weird. I had a whole little shindig with home-prepared food, lots of fun times between pals. I didn't invite Rose. She found out after folks posted on their Instagram stories and confronted me over it, saying that I was giving high school mean girl vibes. I told her that she's made it clear she doesn't eat at the homes of people who have cats, so why would I have invited her to a dinner party? She got defensive and said that she could have just come and not eaten anything. I said that in the future, maybe she should be more careful about what she says, because to me, it was very clear. Rose has continued to tell people I'm giving high school mean girl to nurse pipeline. I'm an accountant, and all that. Am I really the jerk for not inviting her? Why would she have wanted to come? In my opinion, OP's not the jerk here, and it's pretty clear that they said that cat thing without actually truly meaning it. You can just tell in the way that she said, well, I could have come and just not eaten anything. Yeah, right. You're gonna come to my place to a dinner party and just not eat food. Like we would want to invite you and watch you just sit there in disgust as we all eat food in this clearly disgusting place because I have a cat. RB1327 wrote, obviously not the jerk because your dinner guest list is your decision, but you're not even friends and she obviously aggravates you. Are you so desperate for social media followers you won't just block her? That's what you should have done when she reposted your cat photo with the insulting remark. Move on from her already. You both seem to be interacting like you're in high school. North River Ben replied to that saying, are you so desperate for social media followers you won't just block her? This is such a Reddit moment take. Even if OP doesn't much like Rose, it sounds like Rose is in OP's group of friends, and yes, blocking someone just because they use terminally online language would cause IRL drama. OP, not the jerk. Now, I think you have a good reason to stop associating with Rose and blocking them if you want. If not, you're still not the jerk. You aren't obligated to invite somebody to your home. I strongly suggest you stop debating this with Rose. If your friends bring it up, just say, I didn't invite her and she blew up. Don't get dragged into the mud here. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my daughter that life isn't high school, and if it was, she would be the loser now? My daughter is 24, Kelly, and my younger daughter is 23, Sarah. They both had very different high school experiences. Kelly was very social and in different sports. Sarah was very academic and had a small group of friends. Kelly got a sports scholarship for college, but soon dropped out of college after she failed multiple classes. She basically partied and did her sport and nothing else. Sarah went on to finish her degree and is doing well in life. Kelly has a jealousy issue. I've talked with her before about it. She is never happy when Sarah has an accomplishment. Today, Sarah told us that she's going on a cruise for her vacation this year. Kelly always wanted to go on a cruise and couldn't afford it with her waiter job. In the car, she blew up saying that Sarah was a loser in high school, so it isn't fair that she has all this now. She went on for a bit when I had enough. I told her that life isn't like high school, and if it was, she was the loser now. This started an argument, and she called me a bench. OP's clearly not the jerk here. They're living in the past. Anybody that's even a couple years removed from high school can fully recognize high school didn't define you, and if you allow it to define you, you're in for a rough adulthood. 1962 Michael wrote, not the jerk. While it's never good to call your child a loser, you were using the word she used for her sister and in a conditional manner, so I'll give that a pass. I think it's probably closer to the truth that Sarah was never a loser. She was just playing a different game. She did what she was interested in, had close friends, and probably never wanted to be popular. Research has shown that siblings intentionally differentiate themselves from each other. I had 5 siblings, and we were all very different. My closest brother, only 14 months older, was on the chess club in high school. I could never beat him at home, so I never joined. In this case, since Kelly was older and liked sports, Sarah could never be as good as Kelly in sports, so she chose to focus on classwork. Kelly was a favorite with the coaches, and Sarah with the teachers. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.